Hello, Internet, and thank you very much for tuning into the Cloud Native FM podcast. This is another live session on Cloud Native FM, and today we're hosting a live stream on both of YouTube channel with my wonderful guest of this time, Dr. Muhammad Umar. So let's discuss a little bit of agenda for today's coverage of the live stream. Finally, in Pakistan, we now have a data center, and it's mostly people are saying it's dedicated to the AI, uh, AI enabled infrastructure, or AI enabled data center that's called Sky 47. What does it mean for the enterprises, government, and the AI? Will this be the revolutionary change in our IT spectrum in Pakistan? We'll discuss this in a wonderful detail with my guest, Muhammad Umar. And also another topic, and that's very crucial for both of us and also for you if you're listening from the different places. Pakistan data governance policy paper is rightly established and now is published on the online on the Ministry of IT website. And today we're covering that as well. So Pakistan finally has established its data governance policy 2026. What does it means for the future of data, cloud, AI, cybersecurity, and the digital infrastructure in Pakistan? And in this Cloud Native FM live coverage, we will do open live NA on the audience as well. We will covering topics such as data sovereignty and cloud, data sharing and interoperability, privacy and security, Gen AI governance, and from policy to implementation, what we need to focus on as well, and what should the enterprises, AI, and the government should look for the next evolution on this paper as well. And without any further delay, thank you very much, Dr. Omar, for joining me again on the Cloud Native FM podcast. And also, we are living on your YouTube channel as well. Over to you now, Umar, and tell us where you are busy and how your last week goes by. When we did the coverage on the live stream last Thursday to up till this Thursday, what were your most busy days during these week?
So, Mr. Saim, thank you very much again for inviting me, and thanks God that we are live again for our second session. And obviously, again, the thing is that I'm really impressed by your energy. Okay, so you take a very good takeoff. Okay, so thank you very much. So, as per the busy schedule, we are having classes, and nowadays in Pakistan, we are having a monsoon season. So, it's raining cats and dog. Okay, so it's raining since like 2 or 3 days, and we are having a little flood as well. And we pray that may Allah Ta'ala bring ease for all of those people.
Oh,
So yes, we are excited for our today's podcast, and obviously we are going to discuss about AI is entering into the government, banking, healthcare, agriculture, and even the education sector and the telecom. But there are many questions that we need to answer, and we need to discuss. And I think that this is going to be very wonderful talk with respect to starting from the data, what is data basically, and how we are going to handle it. So we will go towards the governance and then sovereignty, because Pakistan has launched its own first cloud, that is Sky 47. So obviously we need to discuss something related to cloud sovereignty, and then we will move inshallah towards AI and algorithms, because all of those technologies, cloud, AI, they are going to be running with the algorithms. So obviously we need to discuss with it. And most importantly, these services are deployed for the nation, for the customers, for the clients, for the normal citizen. So in that context, we are going to see what is citizen trust on it. And that's very important, I think. And obviously all of the ecosystem that is going forward towards the data economy. and maybe intelligent economy right now.
Absolutely.
So I think that it's going to be a very wonderful talk, and we are going to discuss these systems, let it be data systems or database systems, whatever we are trying to do. So I think that's going to be a very wonderful episode today.
100%. And I think, Omar, we start from the good news because there's a lot of push from the public sector to government. Like, we need a data center. And data center wave is actually been really popular these days. It's not just in Pakistan, but globally, the government and the regulatory firms are paying attention very closely that they have built in or own prime data center, we call it, rather than going to the public all the way, because the sovereignty is a big challenge these days and you need to build systems that are data sovereign. So companies and the government and the enterprises like really looking forward to establishing trust between the government and the public sector. And rightfully so, we have some data center is established. That's the name of the Sky 47. I think it's launched during the Indus RAS, powered by the Ignite. The Ministry of IT has some subsidiary organization under its umbrella. One of them is Ignite, and Ignite actually hosted I think, a conference quite recently on the Park China Center by the name of Indus RAS 2026, and that's where the big powers actually inaugurated the Sky 47, the data center we call it. So, Omar, I know you have some news regarding Sky 47. How you look at this new innovation in our IT catalog, and what does really means for us as an individual and also for the enterprises, and what should the government actually do next to actually make sure this new data center is always running smoothly? Sorry, I asked so many questions on just one phrase, but you can start, you can pick any of the ones you do like most.
Yeah, I think that it's a very good news for Pakistanis, and I congratulate all of those people who were in the team of establishing that Sky 47. So I think it's a very good initiative. But at the same time, we are having a lot of shortcomings with respect to the technology that they are going to be utilizing over there on the cloud, because right now we are having a brand name, Google Cloud, Amazon. They're already working very very fine and they are economically viable, so they have already captured the market. So what the developers are doing here from Pakistan, they are getting those cheap services from the state of the art cloud native environments, and they're deploying their solution in 30 minutes. But that is going to be a very challenging for government, that how they are going to introduce their VMs, where their data lakes, their data bricks, or the networking and their virtual machines, because there is a lot of competition. And right now uh, I have experienced the calculator that they have made by the Sky 47, and I went there. So I just allocated some of the very minimal resources for a VM, and they were costing about 30 to $40 per month, and that was very expensive, because right now how the clouds are playing, they are playing on pay as you go. Okay, so that is auto scaling of the resources. So if you are using it, you are paying it. If you are not using any of the resources, you are not paying it. So for a fixed charge per month, that's I think a little bit trickier. And in this context, I think we need to work very hard how we can introduce such type of things. But another thing that I'm seeing here is, I think there, because AI is working on the data. So AI does not fix proper data. AI amplifies whatever data foundation you give it. So garbage in, garbage out. So the same thing is still valid, because these data centers are going to be hosting the data, And what type of data they are working on, the people are working on, it's going to be having a very, very, extensive and large scale implementation effect. For example, picture a man named Imran, let's say, and he applies for a small loan agreement scheme. And the tax department has himself as Imran Ali. Okay, and then the vehicle registration office has him as Imran A. The utility board has his address from 6 years ago before he moved, and three records, three truths, and one person. So, in that case, how the government is going to introduce an AI system to speed up the approvals? Everyone expects the AI to be smarter than the older paperwork, the traditional registering work that we do on the registers. So they expect that the AI to be smarter than the older paperwork. But in that case, the AI doesn't know which Imran is real, if it is Imran Ali or Imran A. So it's just like a process, whatever it's fed. So whatever you fed into the data, it is going to be recorded. So either rejects him by mistake, or worst case, quietly merges the wrong records and approves the wrong loan. Okay, so how we are going to deal with such type of things, and this is the story the policy is trying to prevent. We are going to discuss the policy as well, the data policy governance of 2026, which has been taken out, I think, 2 weeks before. And this is going to be answer, I think, the policy is trying to prevent. It pushes for authoritative success. And I think that once it is verified, trusted record per person, per entity, and per address, feeding every other system, it should be fed into all of that system instead of five departments guessing independently. They should be fed into the system automatically. We are already having storage accounts, we are already having data lakes, data breaks, so we can utilize them. And that's the once only principle, because that Imran should not have to keep proving who he is to a government that already knows. Okay, so there should be a primary key that is already existing in case of national identity card, and we can use it, we can utilize it. So I think that that's one of the very main issue, that how we are going to govern. And I think there is one more thing, that these type of policies should enable the people uh, to realistically update their data. And on the government side, they should understand that they are not the owners of the data, they are the custodians of the data. Okay, so in that case, I think when you are having that intention into your mind, I think all of those puzzles come into alignment. How you are going to, record the data, how you are going to save it technically or, morally. So I think that's the thing with respect to the data, that is very, very important, because, the foundation is the data.
Absolutely, and rightly so. And I think we heard about the phrase all the time that data is a new economy in the world we are living in as well. But I think you made some very crucial point, because in order to stay relevant in the data center world, as you mentioned, and we will discuss more in the coming episodes about the pricing of the Sky 47, because it's a very crucial topic. Because rightfully no, right now we live in a world where the compute is actually being a very cheaper. Like we have services in the cloud like spot instances. Let's say about the spot instances. You haven't been charged any of the dollar unless the customer hit your website. That's where the charge come from. So we live in a world where now we fine tune a way when the customer demand the website, they can actually land into the website. Infrastructure is ready behind the scene, and then we charge our customer. But in our data center, if the Sky 47 charges too much, how many actually customer it actually retain, how much the customer retention policy for them? And also they need to build services like that, because Otherwise, it's going to be a very tough task because AWS also has some services where they say you have the own premises environment. You don't want to leak your data. Just tell me where you are, and I can manage all the stuff from you. And these are the services called Outpost in the AWS. Like you just tell the customer, AWS, this is my data. I will make AWS try to make sure it's not being duplicated, not being given as being broken any policies or nobody accessing the rest of the world, and they're still operating and manages it for you. So these services exist in the cloud. Now, if you charge the customer too much, they try to be in the cloud rather than go to your data center. So I think this is a big topic. I think a government and other entities should try to build out the strategy of making sure that the policy says your data can't leak the system where you stay it to be. But if the system in itself is so much expensive, I think it's very restrictive for the customer to consume that part of the infrastructure. You build out the technologies like container or orchestration technologies like Kubernetes, because that's really solve the very long lasting compute equation for the enterprise for the very long time. They now figure it out, like how we can actually reduce our costs by using those services. So I think this will be the next topic for us, Umar, in the upcoming live stream, just to see in comparison with what are the services available in the Sky 47, what is the alternative into the AWS cloud, which one is cheaper and which one is most expensive, and what are the strategies as end user we can see, like what are the pathway for one of the customer to use both of these, like in a hybrid environment, AWS plus Sky 47, or what are the benefit of moving into the Sky 47 as well. So we will actually make this in a catalog, and I think this is a very crucial topic going forward as well. But after your other conversation, I think we try to focus on the the recent publishing paper by the Ministry of IT, and I encourage Umar, can you bring that up into the screen, because we really want our viewers to see what we're talking about here, because
Yeah.
it's been, I think, published in June 2026, right before the actually the I think 1 month later or the beginning of the August we see the Sky 47. So this means the government is actually piling up the policies plus the data center in itself, because those are two crucial setup as well. So I think now people can see this on their screen now. So Umar, can you literally bump up up the font size and go to the next pages as well so people can see it? So this is paper is called Data Governance Policy 2026. It's been written by the Ministry of IT, and hopefully me and Umar will try to find out what are the people who actually written this paper out. And Umar, I will ask you on the screen somehow. Can you bring them up again to yourself? I can see the paper, but I lost you as well. So good. We're talking about. I hope people are still listening to us while I'm talking to you. Oh, now we're back again as well. Can you adjust the screen as well, Omar? I know it's good. Once again, awesome, great. Can you go to the next pages and then it drill into it? Yes, the first one. This is the scope, like references, differentiate, definition, abbreviation. Let's go to the next. I think the critical piece of the fundamental foundation principle for that as well, and then I will definitely ask you some question as well. So the number one question, I think this is here as well, and I will go back to the Umar on that topic as well. Umar, while you're reading it out on your free time, and also I do some of the reading as well, the first question comes to my mind: who is the attended audience for this paper? Like, is it the companies building the data center, or is the someone who are actually operating the data center, or it is someone who wanted to establish the policy and he doesn't know what to use in that policies? So, Umar, according to you, what is the attended audience for this paper? And so we can define to people or viewers who will read this stuff first.
I think that this paper is good for those who know the technical terms involved. Okay, but for the layman people, I think that's not a very good thing, because uh, that document is related to the governance of the data
Hmm.
and AI. And governance is the issue, or you can say it's a process that you apply on the citizens. So if citizens are not able to understand it, you are not going to educate them, I think that this document cannot help those people. But I'm pretty sure that for the people of understanding, I think this document uh, can help us understand what are actually the shortcomings. And I think there are many good things as well. For example, on the first place, they have, drafted the governance AI policies. So I think this is actually we should appreciate them that finally they have drafted it. But I think that there are some governance issues, and I really want to make a point here, because good governance isn't collecting more data, it's collecting only what the purpose actually requires.
Yes.
Okay, so a very rightful amount of data is needed. For example, let's consider a person named, for example, Aisha, and she is 19 years old and trying to register for an age restricted government service, maybe online. All the system needs to know that is one thing: she is over 18 or not.
Hmm.
Okay, and in
Absolutely.
that case, the form asks you, okay, the government form that she need to fill, it asks you for her full date of birth, her home address, her father's name, family details. Far more than that question actually requires, I think.
Hmm.
And that data now sits somewhere permanently collected just in case. Okay, so these are all those fields that is not required. And consider it that this is only one citizen, and consider it that this citizen is sitting and waiting inside a queue in some government office, let's say Nadra.
Hmm.
So if you are going to fill up all of those details which are not required, then it's going to take a lot of time. So computational complexity is already being very high. So this is where governance stops being an abstract word and becomes a design choice. I
Hmm.
think that it's very important that not only the scope or the governance issues, we should see what is happening on the system level, what type of data we are looking for, and what type of data we are taking the input. We should remove the irrelevant fields, just ask for the relevant fields, and the policy pushes for it, and the policy pushes for minimum disclosure. I think that is the policy point that we are discussing here, that we should ask for the relevant data sometimes, because even zero knowledge verification occurs. When I was in Spain, okay, I just want to relate this topic of AI governance or IT governance with one of the very great examples from Spain. I was there and I need to, register myself so that I can pay my taxes online. Okay, so there was once in a while I just visited their office. They took my ID, they took my photo, and they took my fingerprints, and then they gave me a certificate. There are some certificates. For example, the browser that we are using, we are having some certificates. When we are having that certificates, we are in line with the website that we are accessing, and they included my all of those details into the certificates. They don't ask me again and again. Okay, so once I have that certificate, I install it in my browser, and whenever I try to register myself or fill in the text details, they don't ask me who are you, because they know it. They
Yes.
have recognized my identity through their IT system. So why we cannot do it?
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
why a user needs to uh, identify himself that I am Umar or I am Aisha and I am this much years old. Why not government takes this initiative that whenever they try to take our fingerprint, they recognize ourselves. Why not? That's a very, it saves time, it reduces your computational complexity. So I think that is a good governance. That we are not only looking for collecting all of the data that may be useless, but the purposeful data. Okay, I think
One
that should be in the scope.
Absolutely, totally agree with you, Umar. Absolutely. I think you go on next pages as well, because I think it's been very long, and I think there should be the line of improvement here as well, because as wonderfully you describe here some very good point. Number one is one of the policies is how to structure the data in itself, and then there's a tools around that. So if you are first structure the data, then some things right now that we live in the agentic world where third party tooling goes outside the scope of it, pulling data inside out and running those in our cluster, in our applications. What sort of the protocol we must actually enable? And when you actually build up the policies, those policies needed to be enforced. What sort of the tools in the landscape today that exist to enforce those policies? If those tools doesn't not exist, who will write those tools? And what if the tool exists, we need to actually test those tools as well according to some standard practices and the principle here as well. I think usually when we live in a world, we say there's a four C's. One is called cluster, code, cloud, container. In one of my area, where we spend about amount of time. So I think data is also being one of the very kind of a figurative term. Like we have infrastructure layer, then run the AI, then run the apps, and then run the business logic on top of it. So there's a four layers into it as well. So if we talk about any of the policies, we need to be very much focused on which layer we are operating in. Are we living in an infrastructure layer? What policies and what governance should be in that part of the world? We know we live in a world right now. If we build out any policies, their tool exists in the ecosystem that actually enable you to enforce policies. If you are not validated, there's nothing run on the system. You validate your policies on the runtime. Then there's application, then there's a kind of a business logic. They have their own onboarding time as well. I think there are some missing piece here. I think we need to be more focusing on, because I think last time you spoke about is the term called golden method. I think previously we talked about everybody needs to build the LLM on their own data, do the structuring and inferencing all the way. Now we have the open made model. Everybody start consuming those modeling. And then there's the next worry in, oh, is my data is leaking? Is the sensitive information are there on that data? What sort of the policies or the governance I should incorporate in my practices, or the tool I should need to embed those in that validated some kind of the misleak information here as well. So I think a paper need to be little bit distinguish, like what sort of the, as you mentioned, like this is not the native people who can actually understand. There's a technical term involved in that. I think there's a part needed to be more added, like who is the attended audience, what type of the persona is asking, because when somebody reading any type of the paper, they say, "Oh, which part is mine? Which part is from the other members team as well? Is it for the cybersecurity folks? Is it for the DevOps folks? Is it for the main IT folks as well?" So this is a must be doing on as well. I think this need to be drill in more. I think as we move along in the ecosystem as well, because I think right now we're living in a world. People are always certainly actually collecting the piece of the information and then build out all. Now we live in a world of the open world model, and everybody is starting to consume those model, and we try to figure it out. Like, is there any back-end calls that the open build model, the agentic tooling has been done, which is not which is a very threat for my regulated stuff. I'm not allowed to do this kind of stuff, but the agentic system are already calling behind the scene third party tooling that are not allowed in my system. Who is actually validating those? Is there any test cases for that? Which tools are actually being very good enough to actually solve those cases? I think there should be a choose some sort of the policy. I think right now in industry globally we're missing the standards on the AI big time. I think nobody knows what sort of standard exists today. We live in the world. We have agent to agent protocol, MCP protocols, and bunch of other exist, but we're lacking on a big time. And I think government. I think I would expect government to build out some of the standard for those practices. Like if some of the developer using those kind of technologies, what should they incorporate on and this thing. But I think. But hopefully we see good is some of the established framework is kindly some people are trying to incorporate in here as well. So Omar, we will spend more time in the coming episode as well because I think there should be a new paradigm to it as well. But the good news is that is somebody paying attention to this critical workload. So I'm happy. I'm not happy with how the structuring of the format, but I'm happy people are paying attention to the data sensitivity because I think the struggling piece here as well. The sovereignty is a big challenge, right? Everybody say, "Oh, my data would not leak to the my territory," and everybody start putting out the governance and the policies on top of it as well. But the good thing is that people are putting effort on top of it as well. But according to you, what critical piece of the information is still missing? And if I ask you to enhance any of the part of the paper, what will be your thinking? Like it should be incorporated, it's missing there, or what more value we can get out from this paper if some of those information is added according to you?
Yeah, you have rightly said that you have rightly given the example of, gold methods and the new age antique AI. And I will refer to the same, analogy with respect to the Sky 47. That's a
Mm.
very, solid step towards, future of Pakistan. But still, I was expecting something related to cloud as well,
Oh
maybe
yeah,
related to cloud sovereignty. And I think that that's a very big puzzle that we need to still solve, because a government agency, for example, wants to modernize it, and a vendor pitches us sleek AI powered analytical platform, and that's fast to deploy, cheap to host it on a very well known global cloud. We are having a lot of clouds, so everyone is excited. Nobody in the room asks where the data will actually sit, or who holds the encryption keys, right? These are the right
exactly.
questions. So
100%.
such type of things are missing. Okay, so the first thing when we deploy the cloud, he asks us the regions. And with respect to the regions, he asks us the zones, redundancy levels, and one of the important thing, encrypted keys. Okay,
Absolutely.
so who is going to govern the encrypted keys? So for example, the data sits inside Pakistan, inside the physical boundary of Pakistan, but the encryption keys, they may be traveling the globe. So
Absolutely.
if
Very
the if the encryption keys are traveling across the globe, so I think that we need to look into that thing. So for example, later someone finally asks an uncomfortable question. This data includes restriction with respect to the boundary, nationality, important for the citizen records. That is very important. And there are some, there are some tier rules as well. So tier 1's rules refers to the data legally has to stay inside the country under Pakistan's control. Cross border processing needs specific approval, and
mm,
the safeguards. That's all a very very wonderful job. We salute them. Okay, that's a very good thing. But the project doesn't get cancelled.
yeah.
It should have, we should redesign it, or at least if let it let the let I take my words back for the redesigning. We should include it, or we should integrate it. For example, the encryption key policy, like the classification first and then the architecture.
Yeah.
Suddenly, which cloud provider? Okay, so it is also because with respect to the cloud architecture and the cloud sovereignty, every cloud has a different architecture, different middleware, different regions, different encryption keys. So I
100%.
think the first questions are, I think there are some questions that are still unanswered. What data is this? Okay, what type of data we are talking about? Because we are having multimodality data existing inside the boundaries. What tier it is? Where is it processed? Where it's going to be processed? Okay, with respect to the compute, and who could ever be forced to hand it over? Okay, how?
Absolutely.
Yes, so how you are going to implement those policies, because there are multifactorial project. So in one project you are having multiple players, you are having multiple stakeholders, so how you are going to move from that perspective, from that multi-vendor environment, because there are citizens, okay,
Mhm.
there is a vendor, there is a developer, there is a front end developer, okay,
Absolutely.
and then there are some third party tools as well, okay, for
Mm.
example analytics. So we are going to involve them. We need to give access to those tools, and maybe those tools are coming from outside Pakistan. So once
Ah,
they are not having access of that data, that tools can bring nothing. So how you are going to make policy for those third party tools? That's very important.
absolutely. And I think one of the very crucial aspect to it is, well, there are so many, you need to differentiate, distinguish between the consumer of the data in itself as well. There are vendors, there are some like different factor consuming your data, some other system, some other AI tools, some other references tool, some other system, some other cloud provider, some other kind of a key, some other kind of a, open source tools as well. So you need to really differentiate between the consumer of the data in itself as well. Then you actually enable the right policies for them as well. I think this is one of the biggest hurdle in the tech ecosystem is right now, as you were mentioning, is like if you actually make the guardrails so tough, then you will be a very, you are in a phase where other can be very accelerated in their pace of AI adoption, and you stay behind it. So there's a race going on, and that race need to be governed. This is not an uncontrolled race between the government and the enterprises. If you actually add more regulation into the AI, there might be the cases we left behind in a race. And if you actually uncontrolled AI can lead to drastic and chaotic experience for not only the national security but for the other people as well. So there's a control and balance equation, and I think that need to be addressed very rapidly. We have very less time. I think we always spoke about when you live in an AI world, the time is one of the most key factor here. If you spend more time understanding what is crucial and what isn't crucial, you need more time to implement those as well. So there's need to be a kind of synchronization. You build out method, technologies, tools, and consume other open source part of the world, and then you just building out the equation on the infrastructure side by side. Because the worry here is that I think we spoke about a lot about the cybersecurity framework. When you put more guardrails for the developers, for the operators, for the information security teams, they are very much reduce what they allow to do. And that where the innovation becomes shrink in. So you don't want the unnecessary guardrails to put in place on the enterprises and the other people consuming that. That will actually make a lot of burden on you. And also there's a very cost angle to it. Any strategy you make in the infrastructure layer or in the data layer need investment and time and energy. If you put a wrong guardrail to any of those systems, you actually, one thing, you shrink the innovation cycle, and number two, you actually put the money in a wrong place, and that is another angle here as well. So I think there must be a pricing calculator should be established in a lot of the government entities, is like where to start the journey. And I think this is very crucial. The data residency, what are our availability zone, what are our local zone, which region our data center stays in. When we actually pull the data out from the data center, what sort of the encryption strategies we can enable. When we enable the encryption strategies, what are the protocols that need to be enabled between the client and service communication between the one consumer of the data and one actually publishing the data in its hardware, where it's need to be very much cyber security focused. And then people consuming the data, what sort of the principle in place today which allow the consumer to actually collect that information, and what are the barrier we can add to that part as well. There is so many layers on top of it as well, and I think there should be a balancing equation out there as well. I think we try to focus on more what are the key summary we learn from this paper. We try to dig in more in the upcoming days, and then in the next coming live stream we do a little bit of a summary, like what really this paper is for, what people actually, what things to enhance out as well, and what our thinking combinedly to our viewers, like where actually what information is critical from these 25 pages that we need to focus on as well. And also from the larger angle, what are the other worldwide organization are actually doing in the data in itself. We know there's a foundation called Agentic AI Foundation that is establishing, I think 2025, later last November, and they're actually running a conference, I think next month in September. And I'm keen to focus on what are the framework are coming out from that angle as well, and what this paper is missing, and how can we incorporate those as well. I think, Umar, just to wrap thing up, I think right now building any policy on any layer is one hell of a ride, I believe. Those who do this, they need, I think, they need another planet where there's not 24-hour, but there more be like 1,000 hour a day.
Yeah, there is another very important aspect to this policy, because you know that previously the data was changing per year, per month, okay, per
Absolutely.
week, but now the data is changing and the technology is moving, you know, on the hourly basis, okay. So,
Absolutely.
how we are going to respond such type of policy documents with respect to the drastic change in the technology,
Absolutely.
okay. And I think that what we try to sum up from here is, with respect to data and I think the future isn't AI replacing accountability. I think it's
Absolutely.
AI operating inside an accountable framework. Okay, so I think that there should be some foundation level questions, and should be some foundation level policies with respect to the data, with respect to the AI systems, and with respect to the data centers and the cloud. I
Absolutely.
think these four factors are the main pillars of the today's technology, or we can say emerging technology. And I think that if we try to grasp the basic fundamentals of these four technologies, I think even if the technology is evolving on per hourly basis, we can respond to it in a real time manner.
100% totally agree with you. I
Yeah,
think
so so
just
for
to add
example,
one point, you're doing wonderful. I think last time we spoke about in the cloud we have a shared responsibility model. I think somewhere down the ride, as you're explaining, we need to add shared responsibility for the cloud AI and the people operating it as well, because that is the really missing piece. Because some people say we are bombarded with, but there's so much duty on us being managing the infrastructure. What are am I accountable for? What is AI accountable for as well? So I think that should be actually solve the little bit of a confusion in the industry if we have some sort of shared responsibility model.
I think the four factors that I have talked about, the basics and the fundamentals of these four factors, and the shared responsibility that you are talking about, that is going to be implemented by the people. Okay,
Hmm. Yes.
that the people sitting in the government offices. So I think that if those people, they do not have that basic fundamental concept, what actually the data is, what is sovereignty, what is the purpose of these AI systems, how these AI systems work, I think at that time we missed a lot of chunk in that case. So I think on the first level, we should, improve the HR that are sitting, that is going to be, getting the data acquisition systems, because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, people are working, the government offices are working with the data acquisition systems, data collection.
Yes.
So they should be educated with respect to the policy matters, and with respect to, the basic education of data and AI and the cloud native systems. You remember when the computer was coming? Okay, so Intel at that time was flourishing with respect to the trainings. We were having a lot of training with respect to how you need to use the computer, in short, computer literacy. Okay, so what we need right now, in the age of intelligence, we need these type of literal documentation and the literal training, hands-on training with respect to the data, AI, cloud, and the governance system. And not only the technical training, we should have, the deep understanding that why we are developing these systems. We are
Absolutely.
not developing these systems to control the nation. We are developing these systems to provide efficiency into the system, and we are trying to, bringing the prosperity, the easiness for the final citizen that is giving you the data. Okay, so
Absolutely.
I think that if we try to work on these lines, it will be very easier, very very easier to implement these systems. And one thing that I have missed, I think there, we need also, an awareness, and not only the awareness, but I think government should implement those short courses for the citizens as well, so that
Absolutely.
they understand, how they need to interact with the AI systems, how they need to interact with the data acquisition systems, and how responsibly they need to record their data. I think that
Absolutely.
that is a very missing thing in that was previously as well, and now it is also missing. We do not, this policy document does not talk about how they are going to educate the final citizen, and if the final citizen is ready or not for these AI and cloud systems or the data acquisition systems. I think this is very important.
Totally agree with you. Absolutely. I think you made some very good points here on the conversation. I think currently the focus of AI as an outcome is little bit missing. A lot of the people is actually centered around the output, like on the daily basis, how the AI can help me. But we're missing the big piece, how we live with the AI in a futuristic roadmap. There's two technologies we have to move along with the. I think with the there should be a futuristic roadmap, like what should be the next, like I done this, what should be the next in the pipeline, and how the next pipeline what already did, how they correlate with each other. Because any investment made into the any of this sector, there's an investment of time and energy is required. And if you put a wrong energy or wrong time into the wrong task, I think you will be fall behind in the race of implementing the AI for everyone. I think that's the crucial. And I think a lot of my friends told me from the ecosystem is like AI expose us like there's so much needed to be implemented in the IT. We fall behind. Actually, we are AI is good, it's been enhancing my framework, is my daily routine, but there's so humongous things has to be embedded in the system as well. When we next time live stream, Umar, I have a very few on this topic. I have some very crucial things coming up because a lot of the big vendors like Open Facebook, the Nvidia, Microsoft, Anthropic, the team actually been confined or mutual consensus is made like we should build the open model for the general consumption of the AI. And that's where we spend time in the next coming days and the next coming stream. When you consume the open models, they always been updated with the passage of the time. You running the version 1.2 for the any open model, and tomorrow it's 1.4. How do you migrate your system to adopt to those changes? And number one, which model is more appropriate for me? And these are the, I think, the cornerstone we are still missing, and will in the next coming days we'll try to figure it out if the open models and the other I know this is another, I think I've heard about some graph engineering versus the loop engineering. Somebody say the
Yes.
loop engineering is being kind of moving it into the graph engineering, what that is. We spend more time on that, and then we will try to compare what the Ministry of IT wrote the paper with the rest of the ecosystems paper as well, and see what the synchronization between how we are operating as a country on the data sovereignty and how others are operating it as well. I think I had one of the very wonderful example from the data sovereignty angle in one of my podcasts with the T Systems guy. He told me the wonderful, he told me very curious generally. It says in the bank in the Netherlands is been working on the Azure, and somehow the US government told that bank that you are very much partnering with the Russian Federation, and and you no longer, you are actually violating our laws. So they actually trimmed down their Azure offering to that bank, and on just few days the whole bank is actually get bankrupted because they no longer use the Azure services just because of the political landscape change. And that conversation I did with Gabriel Gora told me that the data sovereignty is a big task here. We also spoken about if we actually pretty much aligned with the one cloud provider or the one entity in the ecosystem, and if that ecosystem is actually trim the services off from you, then there's a very much one single failure for you. And that's why the people look at the data sovereignty from that angle as well, and that is missing. We haven't talked about from these angle as well. So in the upcoming episode we definitely try to ask those topics as well. But just to wrap the conversation, Dr. Umar, uh, where are you focusing on more in the upcoming days, and what do you feel like we will be live streaming next week? Any of the topic you have in mind? Uh,
Yeah, I think that you have rightly said that such type of, geopolitical stakes are very, very important. And I think that is missing inside this document. How we are going to respond to such type of policy issues with respect to our neighbors, for example, Afghanistan, India, Iran, Nepal, Bangladesh, how we are going to respond, with respect to the usage of these services, because the cloud is live, and how we are going to, restrict with respect to the data, with respect to the services. I think that is also missing. One thing I think that we should talk about in the next episode, I think, that is the trust of the citizens. How, at which level the citizen trust these systems, because if users are not trusting the systems, they are not going to give their data into the cloud. And if your data is not there, there is no implementation of AI, right? So
Absolutely.
because I have experienced this in my project, that was we were collecting the data with respect to the Alzheimer patients, and in that case we have very difficultly pointed out many of the patients that were suffering from the Alzheimer's, and they agreed to give us their data with respect to the blood samples, and with respect to the, because we were working with the acoustics, they agreed. But the next time when we went there, they said no, we cannot talk about on it. Okay, they have changed their mind, because maybe there was some trust issues or something on the national level, because it is not existing how we need to, collect that data. There is no body that is existing inside Pakistan that is basically responsible for data acquisition, data collection, and data cleaning. So I think our citizens are not educated with respect to the data. They are still very far from these type of literacy terms, and we should educate them. So I think the next thing that we should talk about is the citizen trust, and then we can also see how the data economy that we are walking towards it, and how it reflects. So if we talk about like these digital emerging technologies, how we refer to the data economy. And obviously when we talk about the data economy, so there are database systems,
Hmm.
right? So database management systems that are very important. And obviously when you are going to, model the data, then the role of agentic AI comes here. And
Absolutely.
in that context, I think we should discuss uh, agentic AI in the context of responsible AI systems. And I think that should be the peak of our next topic.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think these are very crucial topic. And I think according with the paper we're mentioning today, these are the very relevant topic. So when the next time we came up, so these are our next topic. So one of the topic I think is very crucial, as Umar is explaining, is like citizens' trust. Like, first, are we able to collect the data that we trained on the system on? And at the end of the day, the consumers say, yes, we are trusted on the system, and now we can enhance the capable, we can use the capabilities of the AI for the daily routine job. So these are the very crucial topic. Thank you very much, Dr. Umar, for joining us again on two of the channel. And please subscribe to the Umar channel as well, because it's have some wonderful courses and content out as well. And speaking with you next time, so you can make sure to subscribe the channel, make sure to click on the bell notification, because that's the only way on the algorithmic side that you know when we are streaming again. And I always look for the comments. What are the people saying in the comments? What should topic we actually cover? Because it's been a bloated term in the AI. We can speak for hours, or days, and years before actually taking any break, because it's been
Yeah.
one of the hot debate these days as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Umar, for joining us on the Cloud Native FM podcast. Speaking with you, see you soon in the next week when we live again. Till then, have a wonderful day and make sure your data is safe. Bye bye.
Thank you, Saim. See you again next week. Thank you. Bye bye.